Hi, thank you for joining me for your yin practice today. For your practice, you will need just one prop, and it's either going to be a small blanket or a pretty big towel. And I want you to fold it up and then roll it. This one's a little big, so it's kind of hard to show you, but the roll is going to be about that wide, kind of around like that, so fairly sturdy. Once you've found what you need, roll it and set it aside. You actually don't need it until more or less the end of the practice. I'm going to pop mine just at the top of my mat. And we're going to start in a seated cross leg. So come on in, allow yourself to find your comfortable seat. Rest the hands down to the knees, drop the shoulders from the ears and close down your eyes. Depending on what time of day it is that you're practicing will really impact how your body responds. But also it might have a lot to do with how quickly you can lean in and settle into the practice, or if you're a little distracted today and the mind is somewhat busy. Sometimes in the morning it can be harder to focus. The body is stiffer. At the very end of the day, just before bed, you can wind down and relax in. But either way, just let your breath guide your practice. In this next 40 minutes or so, just ride the flow of your breath. Never ending, completely repetitive. There's a pattern to that breath. And that pattern can become this kind of familiar, cozy blanket that you can drape yourself with. Let's take another few breaths in this quiet seat. Preparing body and mind for practice. And just one more breath here. You can blink open your eyes. Take your right hand and take it to your left knee. Take your left hand behind you, fingertips to your mat, and don't twist just yet. Rather, actually press into your left hand to sit tall, and then pull a little on your right hand so you're creating a squareness of your hips towards the front of the mat. Take a breath in. As you exhale, keep pulling on your right hand, press your left hand down and away, encourage a twist, but keep your right hip square and drawing back. This is an active twist. Keep pulling on the right hand to the left knee. There's some strength through the right arm and up into the right shoulder required. Take a big breath in here. Keep pulling on your right arm, keep your chest pointing towards your left knee, and start to bow forward. Right hand stays active to the left knee. Left fingertips might come wider to the side, pressing down and away. Maybe the forehead drops towards the left knee. Maybe it rests on the knee. It doesn't have to come all the way down. There's a slight twist happening here, but then there's a reverse twist happening with the right hand, but there's also a fold forward. So it can be a bit confusing, but where you should be feeling this is along the lower third of the right side of your spine, around from thoracic to lumbar. You might well be feeling it in a number of other places. That's okay. Once you have some sensation that feels good, you might even soften the grip of that right hand. Keep it on the left knee, but it might not be pulling so much now. Allow for some breathing deep into the belly. As we put some stress on the tissues that we're working into, as we encourage them to hydrate, to set out useful fluid, we'll keep them nice and malleable. And prevent a tightening and then even a stickiness that can cause a real limitation in movement, including some residual pain. So yin is just this beautiful way to kind of freshen up the tissues in the body. Let's take 3 more breaths here. One more breath here. And rise up with a slight twist still towards the left. And then untwist to center. Just rest hands on your knees, drop shoulders from ears, and close the eyes. Perhaps you can feel some subtle differences right to left side of body. Changing the cross of your leg, taking the other in front. Left hand to right knee. Right hand just to the side and back a little. Press through the right hand, be tall. Pull through the left arm. So there's a twist but a resistance to the twist all at the same time. Left hip is drawing back, so there's a squaring of the belly button towards the center of the mat. You can look back if you like. So you'll find if you're not going both ways, if there's not a resistance to the twist, you'll just be twisting deeper and deeper and deeper, and we don't really want that. Take a breath in, keep the two-way resistance, so pulling on the left hand, pushing through the right. Keep your chest pointing towards your right knee. Keep that two-way resistance as you start to fold forward. Now this is the awkward bit. You notice that I drop my right hand further towards the hip, towards the side, and then I can keep pulling on my left. Once I'm folded and I find the sensation I'm looking for me I have to really draw my left hip back as I do this. Once I find that kind of thoracic to lumbar region of spine, but not on the spine, it's towards this time the left side. And you can soften through the left arm and shoulder and just maintain the shape. Some of you might be able to rest your head down on your knee, but you don't have to do that. I'm just trying to use minimal props in this class, so there's nothing that prevents you from being in these shapes at home. Every posture provides an opportunity to be still, to focus and to gather your thoughts, to set everything aside. Allow the practice to be the full body experience. If you're a little scatty in the mind today, you know that practicing with a sense of presence is really hard. It takes a lot of effort. It can sometimes be the most challenging part of a yin practice, or any yoga practice for that matter. Let's take a few more breaths here. Last breath. Slowly rise back on up through the twist, and then to center, hands to your knees, close the eyes. And blink open the eyes. Take the soles of the feet to the mat and just press straight up and over into a standing forward fold. In yin we call this dangling. So bend your knees enough that your fingertips can come to the ground. For some of you that might be quite a lot of bend in your knees. And then we're just going to take this in two variations. So the first variation, heel toe your feet a bit wide. They'll come off either side of your mat. That's absolutely fine. Or you can turn long edge of mat. And just slightly pigeon toe your feet. The tiniest micro bend in your knees. And then let your head and torso be heavy. Let your shoulders drop up to the ears. Grab on opposite hand, opposite elbow to encourage the weight of the forearms to sink you deeper. Just twice rock forward to toes and back to heels, and again forward to toes and back to heels. And then be still. Take about 4 breaths here. Stay in your fold, but release elbows from hands, or hands from elbows. And then heel toe your feet about hip width apart. A little bend in your knees. Retake hands to elbows. And then bend your knees enough that you can rest your belly on your thighs. Let your head be really heavy. Rock some weight into your toes and then your heels. And then find yourself midfoot. Those wanting a deeper stretch back of legs, you can lift the sit bones slightly closer towards the ceiling. Don't jam your knees straight. They need to stay with a tiny little bend in them, micro bend. Take about 5 more breaths here, just cascading the torso over the legs, hanging, suspended. Minimal to no effort required. Check in that the jaw is free, the skin on the face. Last breath. Stay in the fold, release the hands to the mat. You may need to bend your knees a little to get there. Step your feet back through downward dog. Take a breath in down dog. Soften your knees to the mat, but keep your toes tucked. And then sit your bum back on your heels with your toes tucked for fire toes. Take an interlace of your hands behind you, catch that bind. And then take the fist to your left hip. Drop your chin to your chest, hug the left elbow in. And then take left ear to left shoulder. Find something good in the right side of your neck. You can pull your chin forward and away. You can tuck your chin into the collarbone. Just 3 breaths. Hopefully, a really lovely sensation in the neck will distract you from the less pleasant sensations in the feet. But of course, if the feet get too strong, you can stay with the neck and just lean forward. You can lift up off the heels for a moment and then back down. Good. Chin to center, fist to center. And then fist to the right. Chin to chest, right ear, right shoulder. And just play with the position. Feeling things left side of neck. And just take another 3 long, steady breaths here. And 1 more breath here. Chin rolls to chest, fist to center. Inhale, narrow the blades, look up. Exhale, release, come forward onto your all fours, lift the feet. And I prefer just to wriggle my toes. Other people like to tap out their feet, so whatever feels nice for you. And send both feet to one side. Make sure your little towel or blanket roll comes up by your side so you can reach it. And then go ahead and lie down, back of body. Keep your sole of left foot down to the mat and take your right ankle to your left thigh for figure 4. Press the right ankle into the thigh and flex your right foot a lot. With no hands, start to bring your left knee towards your chest. Pick up the sensation through your right glutes. And then interlace your hands. Just go for the back of that left thigh, right up behind the knee if you can. It's a 3-part shape, this one. There's going to be more or less a minute or so in each variation. Close the eyes. And don't pull yourself into your maximum, to your end range. Go to about 70 or so %. And just stay there and let the body get comfortable and try and relax the target area. Better to be a bit more gentle but be able to relax than come really, really deep and be all shaky and taut and tense. It's not going to be useful. It's not the point of the practice. Take a few more breaths here. One more breath here. Keep the right ankle to the left thigh. Drop the sole of the left foot down to the mat. And then the whole unit of legs will be dropping out to the left side. You'll see my sole of right foot comes down to the mat. You might need to readjust the position of the right leg. And then take your left fingertips to your inner and upper right thigh and press it away from you. It can feel pretty awkward. You will feel sensation around the back of the right hip, Try and keep the back of the shoulders to the mat. You might like to reach your right arm up behind you to lengthen the right side body. You might even drop the gaze past the right armpit. Just take a couple of breaths here, about a minute. Keep easing that right thigh away from you with your left hand. Don't aggressively push, but just a gentle nudge, holding it in place. See if you can relax any parts of the body that feel tense. It might be quite challenging in this shape. Just a little bit longer here. There might be some increase in discomfort starting to arrive. Last 3 breaths. Last breath. Hug the low belly in. You can even take your left palm to your low belly to feel that. Keep the legs in this figure 4 unit. As you pick them up, sole of left foot comes back to the mat. And then drop your legs very slowly and very carefully all the way over to the right. You might need to readjust where your left foot goes. You can see I just sort of heel toe mine wider, even off the mat. Maybe both arms reach up behind or out wide. You can always rest your right hand onto the inner right thigh for some additional weight. And if this is too much for you, just slip that right foot off the left thigh and have it resting on the ground instead. Don't fight. It's okay if your left knee is not on the mat, mine's not. Settle in for a minute or so. Notice if you can shift anything to make it more comfortable. Just a little longer here. Final few breaths here. Right palm to low belly, hug it in. Bring the legs in the figure 4 unit back up, sole of left foot to the mat. Reach your right arm inside the leg, go for the outside of the foot or the ankle for a half happy baby. Pulling the right knee in towards the armpit. Left knee can drop wide. If you can't get your right foot, you can wrap your arm around the back of the knee. In fact, that's really nice as well. It's 5 breaths here, not long. One more breath here. Releasing the sole of the right foot down to the mat. Soles of both feet to the mat. Pause a moment. Hands to low belly. And take your left ankle to your right thigh for figure 4. Flex your left foot a lot and press your left ankle into the thighs so you can feel those left glutes start to wake up and talk to you. Keep all of that, and with no hands, begin to bring the right thigh in. Stay for one more breath. I'm going to interlace the hands behind the right thigh. Try and stay as still as you can in this shape. If this is too strong for you and you find it too hard to hold that right thigh, you can also just keep the sole of your right foot down to the mat and your left leg in figure 4. That'll still give you something good into the left side of the hips. Take a few more breaths here. Again, 3 different postures, none of which we stay in for very long, but all interlinked and interrelated. And the last breath here. Allowing that right sole of foot down. And then the legs in one unit over towards the right. Sole of left foot will ground. Again, you might need to reorganize the exact position of your left foot. Right fingertips to the inner left thigh, press it away. Perhaps left arm long, maybe even the gaze left, but eyes closed. Notice what feels taut and tense, and maybe there's a softening available. If this shape is super awkward for you, let's try and let go of the idea of what it should look like and do your best. Let the sensations, although a bit peculiar, be whatever they are. I'm not trying to change them or indeed even really understand them, but just be aware of them and where they come from. A little longer here. Keep riding that wave of breath, the sensation of the breath, maybe even the sound of your breath. It never ends. One just rolls into the next and into the next. Last breath here. Take your right hand to your belly, hug the belly, and you can feel it through the palm maybe, and bring the legs up to center. Go all the way through center. It can be tender around the low back here. Dropping knees towards the left. You might need to readjust your position of your right foot. Maybe both arms go up, behind, or out wide. You might even rest that left hand down on the inner left thigh for some pressure. And again, if this is too strong, release your left ankle from the right thigh and pop it down on the ground. Try and relax in as much as you can. Take a little longer here. Most likely you're picking up sensation across the front of your right hip, the right hip flexors, maybe even the front of your right thigh into the quads. Last 2 breaths here. One more breath here. Belly hugs in, knees as the figure 4 unit come back up, sole of right foot to the mat. And then go in for your half happy baby with your left leg, arm inside the leg, hand outside the foot, or just wrapping the arm around from the outside of the leg in. Either way, hug that left knee wide and close to the armpit. Just 5 breaths here. Last breath here. Place the sole of your left foot down to the mat. So heel to your feet as wide as the mat. Take your arms out by your sides broad. Let your knees knock inwards towards each other. So this is going to be more about your breath. It's more about the pranayama and the nervous system and less about the movement. What you'll be doing is inhaling when your knees are still and slowly exhaling, dropping your knees to one side. There's a quicker inhale to center and a slow exhale, knees to the other side. Quicker inhale to center and so forth. The breath count will change and lengthen with every round we take, so I will be guiding you through that. Let's begin. Take a breath in and center. Exhale, knees slowly towards the right for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale to center, 1, 2. Exhale to left, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Into center, 1, 2. Exhale to the right, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, center, 3, 2, 1. To the left, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. To center, 3, 2, 1. To the right, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. To center, 4, 3, 2, 1. To left, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. To center, 4, 3, 2, 1. To the right, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Center, 3, 2, 1. Left, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Center, 3, 2, 1. To the right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. To center, 2, 1. To the left, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. To center, 2, 1. And hold in center. Full breath in. Part the lips, let it go. Blink open the eyes. You'll need to come up just a touch. Grab your blanket roll and pop it underneath the base of the shoulder blades, so back of ribs. And you'll see my roll was a bit big, so I had to unroll it a little bit. It's okay to have some blanket behind the head as well. And as you recline on it, it shouldn't lift you too high. So base of shoulder blades, back of ribs. Back of head needs to be resting firmly on the ground. You must be able to relax in this shape. Arms will go down by your side. They're not resting on top of the blanket. They're to either side of it, but down. They're not up high. What we're looking for here is for the top of the shoulders to be able to rest on the ground behind the blanket. So there's a cascading down and back of the front of the chest. There's a gentle opening across the chest, the pecs. As the arms rest down by your side, you should be able to relax into this. Now, don't go looking for a really big sensation here. Chances are you'll feel very little, but for sure there's stuff happening underneath the skin. Close the eyes, relax. Notice if there's a pinching in the back of the neck and the chin's jutting up to the ceiling. Lengthen the back of the neck. As Posture is really lovely to correct that slight forward carriage of the shoulders that many of us have. Made much worse, of course, by sitting at desks and kind of holding things in front of us, maybe tech. So this is a really effective but gentle way to realign. There should be no effort. You should be able to relax fully and completely. Take a little bit longer here. A few more breaths. Take a big breath in. Part the lips, sigh it out. Take a bend into your knees, soles of feet to the mat. Roll to the side, just enough to slip the blanket from underneath you, and then come on down to the back body. You might like to hug knees to the chest for a rock, side to side. Maybe there's some circles of the low back to the mat, one both ways. Bring the forehead up to the knees. Stretch out the back of the neck. And release along down your mat and into some Shavasana. I'm going to stay with you in Shavasana in this class. And be comfortable to lie somewhat together in our stillness and in our quietness. Exploring the shapes and the colors at play behind the eyes. Leaning into this kind of cathedral of body and all the space, the sounds and the textures within it. Beginning to bring yourself back. Pick up some ever so slight movement, toes and fingers. Stay lying on your back. Bring your palms to touch, thumbs towards sternum. Bring chin closer to the chest so the back of the neck grows long. And then travel the thumbs to the space between the eyebrow center, ajna. Take a full breath in. Open mouth, exhale. Namaste.